For many years now, Russ and Craig have had many wide-ranging conversations with folks from all over the gaming world. This is one of those conversations.
D6G, the Lost Chapter.
Hey, welcome back to Dunkin' Donuts. It's Craig and I back here in the Dunkster. Craig, what do you
It's kind of echoing. It's echoing and empty when we're here alone.
It is a little bit, but they still have
cold
tasty
and desolate.
snacks.
But you know what? I like the new warmer tiles that they're putting down. The new modern Art Deco art on the wall is kind of nice.
Definitely a new look. I like it.
Yep.
So, we figured, since we're having a little break here, we thought it would be just great to go through and catch up. You guys ask us, you tell us you really enjoy these episodes where we go back and look at the games we reviewed many, many moons ago and tell you where are they now. Are we still playing them? Do we still think they're just as cool as or not as cool as when we reviewed them? And I believe we left off, Craig, at episode 100.
Yep.
So now it is time for episode 101.
101, like 101 Dalmatians.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So let's start, Craig. In episode 101, I believe we reviewed a little game called Lords of Waterdeep.
What good's a Lords of Waterdeep?
That game, what do you think now? You still playing that game?
Did we or did we not play it on the airplane on our way to Adepticon?
We did. We played the digital version of it, which of course is a fantastic implementation, but also the board game
gets regular.
Really does. The expansion's fantastic. Really like that. The new. And they've made more D&D pulls for it, the new giant ones.
It's great.
I still play it. I think I still play it with the original version without the expansion more often because people.
Absolutely.
Usually the people who are. You don't play it with hardcore gamers often. I mean, I do, but I also play with the lighter folks. So I play.
But we should say that both of the expansions are awesome too.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
I mean, they're like Warriors got itself all wacky with expansions and changed everything, and you can't really just jump in. This you can jump into the expansions with a quick, tutorial by someone who knows what's going on, and you're still all good. It's just the fact that when you're playing with like my wife or other people who aren't real hardcore gamers, but they enjoy this game, which this is one of those games that has a lot of broad appeal. Mm-hmm. And Karen will always play this game with me if there's one or two other people around that can play it. But she's not into the expansions because she hasn't played it enough to really warrant the needing added excitement. But at the same time, so I love playing with her and with other people with just the straight up game, but also playing with the expansions, which is really cool. And it's a really cool way they did the expansions being basically 2 expansions in one box.
Yeah.
So it was very, very cool.
No, I enjoy it too. Like I said, we play all the time. So that's definitely one that has stood the test of time.
It indeed has.
Back in episode 101, back in 2012, April 2012.
Oof, 2012, it's a long time ago.
Now, right after that, Craig, in May of 2012, we then decided to talk about Dust Warfare.
A little game called Dust Warfare.
Man, do we like some Dust Warfare.
Oh, did we go all in on that or what?
We did, and you know what? It's a shame because I think, Craig, you and I both will say to this day that it is our favorite sort of sci-fi army scale miniature war game.
It is. I love the way that they implemented battlefield friction. I love suppressive fire. I love reactions. I mean, they've just done a really great job across the board, sort of fixing a lot of the little things that people don't take into account in miniature war games. Mm-hmm. The fact that the vehicles and the guys all work the same, basically. I mean, it really scratched just about every itch that you could imagine as far as a war game goes.
But yet,
had awesome models that were pre-primed. It was great.
It's that awesome, but we haven't played it in forever, Craig. What is the problem with this game?
What is the problem? Well, first there's the Wakeland rule of 4.
Yes.
Where you need 4 factions, and that's not like just being. I don't know if people fully understand and appreciate what the rule of 4 is all about. Yes. If you don't have 4 factions, 4 fully fleshed out factions represented within your gaming group, then what happens is every game is a repeat of the last game. What you need is a variety, and you need variety both in the visuals on the table, but you also need it in play style and tactics and equipment and the different ways that people can come into a conflict and deal with different challenges. So Dust Warfare opened and it only had 2 factions. And within a year, they came out with the Russian-Chinese
FSU.
alliance, which was very cool because it also introduced helicopters and stuff like that.
Right.
But for a variety of reasons, Dust has got all sorts of very strange challenges going on. No 4th faction, although we were promised 4th factions by a variety of people who should have known what was going on.
Right.
No 4th faction has yet materialized. And so even when the SSU, the Chinese Soviet alliance was in sort of full swing, you still only had 3 factions, which in our group meant there were 1 or 2 Germans, 1 or 2 allies, and 1 Russian really player.
Right.
So every time you went to the table, it was going to be a similar game, dependent upon which of the other 2 teams you were basically playing. Because we did mostly like campaign games and themey games, and we didn't see a lot of US on US or German on German action. It was mostly, we were playing like cool games that we enjoyed that were sort of, all tied together. So, it just got really repetitive. And when there's not a lot of new excitement, when there's not a lot of new development, I mean, FFG was pumping out those campaign books. But at the same time, it was those 2 factions and then those 3 factions. There wasn't a lot of growth. And in our group, it's very difficult to keep people focused. I mean, I think now War Machine and Hordes is undeniably the most common game that has stood the test of time. And although it's very bizarre to me, the next most common game you see is Infinity as far as consistent play within our group for miniature war games. And so both the inertia of our group and the fact that it was just, this small group of people that only had these 3 armies to work from, it just couldn't sustain itself. And now, sadly, we find ourselves in a whole new world as we emerge and look around and say, hey, has Dust gotten better? What about that 4th faction? Well, Not only is there not a 4th faction, but there was whatever happened between Dust Studios and Fantasy Flight, and Fantasy Flight has now given up or lost or sold whatever the license. There's a billion stories out there. It's now gone to Battlefront, who has a great reputation with Flames of War. But at the same time, there seems Dust is in limbo. And they just finished their Kickstarter, which we talked about on the show at length, so we don't need to go a lot of detail of that. But the upshot of that was everyone I have not talked to a warfare player who finished out the Kickstarter campaign feeling good about warfare.
Yeah.
They really ignored it. They kind of brushed off questions about it. All kinds of strange stories about how Paolo Parente hated Dust Warfare have emerged. I don't know if they're true. I don't have any insider information. Literally, seriously, we have no insider information. Right. Every conduit we had into the Dust universe dried up years ago. But it just, the stories I heard certainly did not negate what I was seeing going on, which was, hey, what about Dust Warfare? Hey, so anyway, we've got this great Dust Tactics thing. So, I mean, they've even come up with their own sort of, look, you don't need to play on a grid version of Dust Tactics, which, what was it? I don't even remember what it was called.
Yeah, but it doesn't have the depth. It doesn't have the components I liked. And that's really what it boils down to, Craig. I think you nailed it really in every way. And I think what's disappointing now is that it just feels like an unsupported game, really.
Yeah, it does.
Warfare does. Tactics feels very well supported, but Tactics isn't what I like. I like Warfare, and Warfare itself feels unsupported and kind of withering on the vine, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a shame. But then moving on to happier news, in episode 103, which was in May of 2012, we actually didn't review a game.
We did not.
No, so we talked to Plaid Hat, had some nice chats. So let's move on to 104, Craig.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so
we could do that if you really want to.
104 was also another episode we did. We had miniature mulling mechanics, And we talked about how you make miniatures, which is, I'm sure, was an excellent episode.
Oh, yeah. That was
sure
Neil came on and talked to us about all that stuff.
Yes. Yep. But, okay, now 105.
Yes.
Stephen Bonacker will be happy to know that we reviewed Core Worlds.
Indeed. Rodney came on the show of Watch It Played fame.
It was a great time. Always happy to talk to Rodney. That was a great episode.
Yeah, we got to get him back on the show.
Core Worlds, Craig, have you played any Core Worlds? And I think I kind of dragged you into Core Worlds from the beginning.
No, you didn't drag me in. I've never played Core Worlds.
Oh, that's right. So there you go.
Not a card game fan, and I'm just now too old to pretend.
Okay, fair enough. Well,
So what about you, Russ?
I like Core Worlds. I played it probably about 3 months ago. So I play it probably once every so often. I like it a lot. I'm very, very excited. They just had a Kickstarter for the iPad version, which I'm very excited about. I do like Core Worlds. I also like the expansion. I think it's a great deck builder. It's in a tough group of other games that are deck builders. So I think a lot of my friends prefer other deck building games. I'm not sure why, because I like Core Worlds the most, actually, of the deck builders because of the theme and the art. I absolutely love the cool sci-fi art, and I still have my copy. I still love it. So I would play this in a heartbeat for anyone, but it does not see the table as much as I would expect it to. But I think with the right group of people, especially with deck building game players, this would do very well, and I like it a lot. And they're still making expansions, and they're still cranking out the iPad version, so it's doing very well for Stronghold. Yep.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Yep.
Nice. So then 106, Craig, what do we do in that episode?
In 106, we did not review a game, but we talked about a certain host emeritus's documentary plans.
That's right.
And then we did a mulling the metagame, talking about psychology.
Yes.
Which was intriguing.
I remember that.
And that was with Luke Ritalik from World's End Radio, who we have had on the show recently.
We have.
He's a big favorite of ours. We always love having him on the show.
Oh,
he adds a little international pizzazz.
Yes.
But no review. Now, Russ.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued as to where this goes next.
Okay.
In episode 107.
Yes.
July of 2012.
Yes.
Almost exactly 2 years ago from right now.
Right, exactly, yeah.
What did we review?
We talked about two things, actually. We talked about Descent 2, the preview of Descent 2. You know, what's funny is we've never actually reviewed Descent 2, Craig.
We have not.
That's a problem. We need to fix that.
That is a glaring hole in our curriculum vitae.
I'm going to vow right now, here I'm raising my Dunkin' Donuts coffee, and I'm going to vow right now that we should review Descent 2 in the next 6 months or so, because this game is fantastic. I play it all the time, and I love it. It's my most played game, probably that plus Descent 1.
The fanboy marches on.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yes, we absolutely should. Yes.
And I have an entire giant case dedicated just to Descent 2.
Yeah.
You
do.
My biggest miniature case I own, actually.
Tweeted out.
Yeah, the biggest miniature case I own is dedicated to Descent 2.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, although Chaos Ball, my Chaos Ball collection is rivaling it.
Yes.
But then also we reviewed Leviathans. By the way, we had Tom Vassell on the show, which is always great to have Tom on.
Yep.
The dean of board game podcasting, if you will.
Yes, he is.
Great to have him on. He did a great job helping us out with Descent. He's also a big fan of Descent as well. So,
Yep.
Then we talked about Leviathans, which was the big flying ship game.
Catalyst Game
from
Labs.
Our friends at Catalyst Game Labs. We love Catalyst. Makers of fine games like Shadowrun and Battletech. And also Leviathans was their latest big effort last summer.
Yep.
Or no, 2 summers ago now, I guess. We reviewed it. I liked the game. But somehow it didn't really suck us all the way in. And I think, I've talked about this before on the show, I think it's because this comes back to the faction thing. And they went with realistic looking ships, which mean all the faction ships kind of look the same, which is like modern navies. Most ships kind of, don't look drastically different.
Chris Weave would not think they looked the same.
Chris Weave would be punishing me right now. And Chris,
that's right.
Fair. Some people out there are really hardcore naval guys, and if you are, you can tell the difference. But for me, it wasn't visually enough, so I think a lot of players like that didn't get it. Now, I like the mechanics, though. I thought it was really cool, and it felt really neat. It did feel like these giant airships are slugging it out, and different compartments are breaking open, and things are failing, and you had your crew mechanics. There was a lot of innovative mechanics going on in there. But, it didn't take off with our group. We had a couple guys that were really excited about it, too, but it didn't play with them either.
Right. It's not really my kind of game. It's a little too crunchy for me. Yeah. I thought it did what it set out to do very well. It just isn't really something that I'm particularly interested in.
Yeah.
However, and I haven't done a lot of research on this, but I have stumbled across a few discussions online, and apparently Leviathans has been nixed.
Oh, has it?
Yeah, by Catalyst Game Labs. There apparently there was some really big issues with their models.
Yeah.
With who was making the models and so if you like the game, snap up any models that you see now because they're not going to be coming in the near future. There were rumors of a Kickstarter; those were all nixed. Unfortunately, Leviathans is another one of these games that is currently in limbo. Well. Oddly enough, it is not in limbo because the company seems to have not the will to support it. It seems like it's more a situation of financially they find themselves in a hard place because of some unforeseen difficulties that were not their fault, as opposed to Dust Warfare, which is languishing because it's an orphan and nobody cares about it.
That's true. But it was. I think it's fair to say also it did not probably do as well as Catalyst hoped. I don't. Think
that's probably
wasn't a big
true.
win.
Yep.
I think they're hoping for another BattleTech there, and I don't think they got one. But I'm love to see companies like that though going out on a limb and trying something crazy new like that. So more power to you, Catalyst. But sorry that Leviathans didn't make it.
Right.
Then 108.
108.
We talked about Warhammer 40,000, the latest edition, 6th edition. Wait, no, that's not right.
Oh God. Well, this was bound to happen, really.
Well, to be fair, we've already kind of given you some really thorough updates lately on Warhammer 40,000.
We have ridden this whole let's reboot our whole game in less than 2 years
right.
already.
So, but back in August of 2012, 2 years ago, almost to the day, it was actually August 1st we reviewed this.
Yeah.
Which is the day we're recording this now is like August 10th. So yeah. So 2 years ago we reviewed 6th edition Warhammer 40,000, but of course now we are on to 7th edition Warhammer 40,000.
Yeah.
And I think everybody knows the status of that. We just talked to Yak Face about it and everything else. So
yeah. I'm building an army.
All right. Well, you are God bless you, Craig.
Hey, I enjoyed the games that I played, and I've had these bits around forever, and I decided, you know what, it's time for me to build a pre-heresy army. And you know how I justify it? Because of all the time and effort I put in to putting together my Infinity army and never using it once.
All right. Fair enough.
So if I put together a 40K army, most of which I already owned, and I enjoy modeling it and putting it together and painting it all up, and I only play it once, I'm ahead of the game.
That's right.
By several factors, considering I won't have to have spent any money. So
yeah.
So that's my theory on that one. But yes, other than that, we really have talked ad nauseum as far as where 40K is right now.
All right, fair enough. So then in the middle of August 2012, we had episode 109. Which was sort of a medley, really. We talked about UK versus US gaming. We had Norbert, our friend Norbert, who formerly of the New Jersey SOBs. I guess once you're an SOB, you're always an SOB, I guess.
I think it's kind of like being in the Marines.
Right, but he transferred over to the UK now, and he's been a gamer over there. He's organizing events. He's going to like everything under the sun. He's still friends with him on Facebook. The guy's always out there playing in these crazy tournaments all across Europe, which is fun to watch. But anyway, we talked about that, but then we also talked about 3 different things. We talked about Dust Warfare, the SSU. We already covered Dust, but we talked about the Russian Chinese guys.
Yeah. So as of August, we were still excited.
Yeah. And then we spent a little time on some new War Machine hotness. We talked about War Room, which is coming out right about this time.
Yep.
The app, which has now been around for 2 years, but the app for the phone. I still use that almost exclusively. My daughter does as well. We play. And we love it. So I think there's still some hardcore gamers who are kind of mixed feelings about it, but most folks I know use it. Also, Colossals came out at this time, which introduced the new giant guys, and I still field mine. Rafe has his. You see,
is yours painted yet, Russ?
Okay, no, it's not painted. But I do have a lot of other models too. But still, it's painted, it's assembled, it has seen the table, and I think Colossals were a great success. You see. You go to a tournament, you don't see every single table with Colossus on them, but about half of them, so I think it works well.
Which I think is a testament to how well they did the balancing.
Yeah, good balance. So I think Colossus was an unqualified success. Got you at a new level in War Machine and Horror.
I do not have a Colossal yet.
You should.
But I do have War Room on my phone.
There you go.
And even though I haven't played in a while, I look at my models every now and then and think, I should really play that. It's a really good game.
It is.
It is.
All right, Craig, what do we talk about in 110?
Well, Russ, in 110, we We did a couple reviews. It was a jam-packed super episode.
It was our post-Gen Con episode, right?
Yeah, it was our post-Gen Con episode. And so we reviewed the big hotness, or one of the big hotnesses from 2012 Gen Con, and that would be X-Wing from Fantasy Flight Games.
Oh, yes, 2 years ago. And now they just announced that new X-Wing thing.
Ridiculous!
I know. I think we can say without a doubt that X-Wing is an unqualified success.
Not only that, I would say I absolutely it is. Mm-hmm. Models are gorgeous. The game plays great. Mm-hmm. They've done a really good job of scaling it up a little bit for these large models, even though the scale's not quite right. But still, they look beautiful. I think the smartest thing they did for their own game was to license out the rules to another game company.
Yes. It was WizKids for Attack Wing.
For Attack Wing Star Trek. Yep. And then just how well they compared to the company that they licensed the rules out to, just because of the quality versus the Star Trek models in Attack Wing and everything else. And it's really, in my opinion, and it's only my opinion, and it's humble. It's a humble opinion. You see, I see WizKids as a massive cash grab company, to be blunt.
Okay.
And so you see, and not only macro speaking, in like what they do, they pump out these. We're going to have 8 different games that use all the same miniatures, but we're going to change them slightly so that you're going to have to buy the same miniature 8 different times. Blah 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 blah. But even in the micro version of how they run their booth. So, I have over the last year or so really developed an impersonal, not a personal, but an impersonal sort of apathy bordering on, distaste. But anyway, so when you look at X-Wing versus, Attack Wing, I think one of them really shines, and it would be Attack Wing. I mean X-Wing. Ruin it all by misspeaking. Freudian slip. But then, talk about the next big hotness. This silly Star Trek thing. I mean, Star Wars. What is going on, Russ? What is going on with me? Look, Star Wars Armada is what I'm talking
so Star Wars Armada. Well, a couple things. First of all, I think X-Wing's unqualified success because people play it constantly. Fantasy Flight's done a great job. Now, this is interesting, too, because we just talked about how we feel Dust Warfare, and I've been wrestling with this for a while now, because
it's
X-Wing violates, it's deception that proves the rule to Russ's rule about 4 factions.
Yeah.
And I think they get away with this because they have a lot of variety in fighters, and they have so many different ways you can pair up your pilots and your upgrades to your ships that it's not always fighting the same, opponent. Even someone who's fielding several X-Wings has some options, but then he's also got Y-Wings. He's also got, A-Wings. He's also got the Z-95 Headhunters now. There's so many different ships that a equal point lists don't look the same. You can do all kinds of crazy combinations. There's just enough variety there that there's differences, which is a lot of fun.
Right.
And also you can tell the success, because I can't remember the last miniature board game type thing, pre-painted miniatures, who built out a tournament circuit as well received and as well played as X-Wing. I see X-Wing tournaments going on all the time. Like at the point you see them like GW and War Machine tournaments, you see X-Wing tournaments now happen a lot. So it's definitely an unqualified success. It captured miniature gamers, it's captured board gamers, and now this Armada thing looks insane, which is basically a whole new scale of game, a whole new miniatures. But now you're playing like fleet action. So now you've got little tiny Star Destroyers and little tiny groups of squadrons of 3 X-Wings and little tiny bases. And it looks awesome. Looks like the kind of stuff we love with, Firestorm Armada, that kind of thing, but now all done this way. We'll have to see what's going to be pre-painted and what's not. We'll have to see the quality. Hopefully there's some preview stuff at Gen Con this year. I'm looking forward to checking that out. But, that looks really cool too. So I think Fantasy Flight's got a mega hit here. They know what they're doing with it, and they're doing well. And if someone told me that, you're going to have some pre-painted X-Wings, and they're going to be $15 a pop, and this game's going to be huge, I think a lot of people would have said no, and it was awesome.
It was, and the contents they've got you in the contents of the Armada starter box with a Star Destroyer.
Oh, I know. But see, even X-Wing, like they got the Millennium Falcon in there, they got the TIE Defender now, and it's just brilliant.
Yeah.
All right,
it's
Craig.
Craziness.
Craig, you're gonna like episode 111. This featured our sleeper hit.
Well, whoa. We did another game in 110.
What? We did.
Yeah.
We got 2 games in there.
Evil Baby Orphanage.
Oh yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That was the
Now,
year
Evil
that-
Baby Orphanage sadly has not. I play it occasionally, but it
fun
doesn't
filler,
see a lot of play.
It's fun filler.
It's a fun filler game, but to be honest, it can sometimes easily overstay its welcome,
it needs a
depending
time
on
limit,
how
yeah.
many players you've got.
It needs a little bit of a time limit somehow built into it, I think.
Yeah,
Yes.
a little timer,
Yeah.
and you really need to stick it to 6 people, really.
Yeah, you can't get too big either. Yep, that's
Yeah, but it's still a fun game, and it still does come out occasionally. It is not by any stretch of the imagination a dead game.
No, and I actually throw it in my backpack whenever I'm going to cons and stuff, just to have one of those quick filler games.
Yep, absolutely.
Easy to teach, silly fun game. Episode 111, Craig. This is one of your favorites.
Yes. Spartacus. Now we're talking again the hot Gen Con hotness.
Yeah.
This is what happens in August and in September and sometimes into October. The Gen Con hotness immediately finds its way onto our
And we're heading
airwaves.
there now, Craig. We're right in the beginning of another
That's
season.
right. We're riding the wave. We're just getting ready to curl.
Now this game was interesting because this came from a company that Craig and I knew well, Gale Force 9, but we knew them, of course, from the miniature gaming world, where they make terrain and all kinds of little miniature gaming accessories and tokens. And here they're coming out with Spartacus, and everybody's like, I don't know, what these guys haven't even made a game before. What's that about? All new game designers. None of them were like, any of that. And then Craig, we discovered this thing at Gen Con. We played it. We loved it.
We played the crap out of it.
We did. You still playing it lately? When was the last time you played?
I haven't played it like in the last few months.
Yep.
But remember that the game itself cost $40.
Yep.
And then I immediately went out and spent $45 to bling it out with real metal coins.
Yes.
And I've never once regretted that from Campaign Coins, our friends at Campaign Coins. And the expansion is awesome, bringing it out to a 6-player game. And tag team gladiator matches. It is one of the absolute best stab your friend in the back games out there. It is fun with the way you have to work together sometimes. The social game that develops is amazing. I love the meta game that develops where you can have sort of like a vendetta starts to build between 2 players and lasts months.
Yeah, I really like that one a lot too. And it's just I play the heck out of it as well. I'm always looking forward to another game of that. And my copy's seen a lot of plays. I don't regret the game at all. I would play it in a heartbeat. If everybody said, "Hey, Spartacus time," I'd be in, no doubt.
Absolutely.
So, and it's been great to see that because, of course, they had another follow-up great game with the Firefly board game as well. So Gale Force 9 has definitely turned into a nice little board game company. You see some of their works, you should check it out because they've definitely proven themselves.
Absolutely.
So 112, we didn't do much in the way of game reviews. Of course, we had Eric Johns on there where we learned about our favorite brushes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Best episode ever for painting. That was actually might have been a lost chapter, but he was in there with us anyway. But then also we talked about how they make plastics, and Eric told us all the ins and outs there. And we also talked about digital diversions. Eric also plays a lot of mobile gaming, so we had a little fun with that. Yep. But no actual pulp games, if you will, were reviewed. So let's go on to 113, Craig. What's in there?
113, we did Zombicide.
Ah, yes. The game that... Is it fair to say Zombicide started the zombie craze, or was it already underway? Was it already on the zombie board?
Yeah, well, you had Last Night on Earth. You had the zombie board game. Yeah, there were many zombie games before Zombicide, but Zombicide certainly did kick it up.
It kicked it up, and that's probably also the game that really started the avalanche of Cool Mini or Not having way too many miniatures in one box.
Yes, I think it might have been. There may have been one before it, but if not...
well, Super Dungeon was before it, but that wasn't a Kickstarter. This was the Kickstarter.
Yeah, right. That's what I meant.
Yeah. So, Zombicide, I haven't played it probably in 2 months, but I did break it out not that long ago. I want to say it was... you know what it was? It was Extra Life this past fall.
Oh, yeah.
And... which I guess is a year ago now, but this past fall... and loved it. I was like, we got to play this more. It was great. And they also have a lot of new scenarios I discovered breaking it out, and chained campaigns now, which I had before, but a little more detailed. Also some shorter games as well. I love it. I played with the new rules where there's been tons of expansions since it came out. I don't have all the expansions. I played one of the ones with the we were in a prison, which was awesome. But then also now they have this thing where when you can now live twice. So you basically have the zombie version of your survivor, and when your survivor dies, they become the zombie version of themselves, and they get back into the game. But they have different abilities. So their abilities kind of change and they become a zombie, which sounds like it might be broken, but there are other events. There are new types of zombies in the scenarios that allow that, have new types of zombies that are actually harder to deal with. Mm-hmm. So, like, they have some zombies that are immune to range attacks, some zombies that are immune to hand-to-hand combat, things like that now. So you got to kind of work through that, a little more tactical. So, really great game still. Love the models, love the mechanics. I always find ourselves hooping, hollering when we play Zombicide. So, good times. How about you, Craig?
I haven't played it since we reviewed it, but I haven't seen it played, so I didn't get a chance to go to Extra Life this year. And I've missed out on several other gaming events. It's all of the writing and other stuff that I'm doing has kind of taken a toll on my extracurricular gaming time. So I didn't get a chance. I loved it when we played it, and I have. I have seen it played, like at Adepticon. I saw it being played a few other places, and it's always fun, and I always stop and watch it for a little bit. But locally, I've always missed out on the games that have occurred. But it's still alive and kicking. Get it?
Alive and kicking. Anyway, November 2012, episode 114. We did a historical primer. And Destination Inspiration, which are both interesting segments, I would hope, but neither of them had game reviews. So moving right along to, 115 now, right?
Yes.
What's in 115, Craig?
115 would be...
Mage Wars.
Mage Wars.
And Article 27. So I guess you felt guilty about not reviewing a game.
Article 27 interview and Mage Wars detailed review.
That's a good point. So, so let's talk about the Mage Wars review. So, Craig, have you played... Did you ever play Mage Wars?
We did play Mage Wars to review it. Yep.
Now, I have played it several times with my brother. I really like this game. It's a little heavy. So the thing about it is it's a 2-player game. It's a little heavy, but I really like it. Now, I haven't kept up with all the expansions, and I would love to get some of the new casters. But and the other thing you have to do with this game is it's the kind of game you have to immerse yourself in totally, because there's so many ways you can build your decks and tweak things, and you can get variable. There's a lot of variety there, though. But I do like this one. But I have to admit, I don't think I've played it that many times since I reviewed it. I want to say a handful, maybe like 4 or 5. When it does get asked to be played, I do bring it out, and I'm happy to play it. And I don't see it getting played a lot, so it didn't sink into our group at all.
No, but you do see stuff like popping up.
Yeah, they're still releasing stuff for it, so it must be doing okay for them. But it didn't sink into our group deep. Although I still have my copy. And I would, it's the kind of, I look at it, I'm like, oh, I could get back into that. But, the problem I have, and I think, Craig, you're into this too, is that these games that have a lot of depth to them, unless you have a lot of time, and I'm too much of a Magpie gamer, so it's one of those games that's like, oh, this is so nice, but...
Yeah, with these games that have a really steep learning curve, you can't do them... They can't be part of a regular rotation that has a lot of stuff in it.
Right.
Because you have to, like you said, I mean, you could... theoretically, just use the spell books out of the book and not delve into that part of the game. But if you really want to really sort of get the full experience of what a game like Mage Wars is intended to be, you really have to know all the different cards and have to build your own spell book. And it takes a lot of time. And I think it rewards that time. I think a good game like this, which this one is, rewards that level of commitment. But it requires it also to really be good and enjoy it. And I think we only have so many games we can really devote that much of our bandwidth to, if you will.
Indeed. Yeah. So then,
speaking of that,
So December 2012. This is a good one to end on here. But episode 116, we reviewed Infinity, the miniature game. Craig, would you say that Infinity has got its hooks into our gaming group?
I absolutely would.
I would too.
Yep.
And I don't play it much, to be honest. I
don't play it at all.
I got my guys. I got Craig sucked into it. I have my models. I painted my tags up. And what I found with Infinity for me, what happened was, as I played it more and more, I found that the segmentation of the rules, so they're like there's like moments where the rules sort of shift. And okay, if the guy's got camouflage, you got to understand how these sets of rules work. If you want to throw a grenade, you have to understand these rules. So I felt like there were different rule subsets that kind of moved around on me that made it hard for me to kind of grok the game as I got to more and more variety in the game. When I kept it really, really tiny and kept the sort of the demo games where I kept the very, very core rules, I loved it. Mm-hmm. But as soon as I started extrapolating it out, I found it was like, oh, I need to really know the meta and have this guy to counteract that guy. And if I don't bring this guy to counteract that thing, I'll have no way to deal with that thing. And I got into that kind of mode, which I didn't, was a little too crunchy for me.
Yeah.
I don't know, Craig, is that what you found as well?
That's exactly what in fact, I have never articulated as well as you just did.
Well, what I'm hoping happens is they just announced, well, not that long ago, I guess a little while ago now, the new version of Infinity.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping we're going to be able to see some of that at Gen Con.
They're supposed to have the 3rd edition intro boxes available at Gen Con.
Yeah, see, I'm excited about that. I might cave and pick one of those up. Because,
I may as well.
Because I love the background material and the fluff.
Yep.
And I love the models. It's just, I love hard sci-fi. It's my kind of game. I should love this game. And I'm really hoping that they I don't want it simplified. I just want it less rules shifting around. Like if the rules can stay, sort of consistent through the game, and remove some of the fiddly bits when for some of the fancier things. And I know what happens. You get all excited to create some kind of new smoke grenade rule, and all of a sudden, but if they can do that, I will be very excited. So I think I'm going to probably cave and get the new expansion.
And the mod. I mean, this is. I feel this is the game that really connects me to our listeners, because I lived through what so many of them complain about on a regular basis, which is Russ gets them into a game.
Oh, I see.
So this is what happened. Russ got me into this game, and I was like, Russ was like, I'm like, I did a demo, Russ. I hated it. No, you got to do another demo, like a real demo that's actually like, slow and paced out and small scaled as opposed to everything at once. And I was like, okay. Oh my God, I love it. We did this review at the height of our excitement. I had literally dropped hundreds of dollars on models and terrain. This was December. My entire Christmas list was terrain for Infinity, or at least the gaming element of my Christmas list. By the time I got all the stuff for Christmas, I was completely disenchanted. For the exact same reasons Russ said. I felt like every new element changed the whole game to the point where I had to learn whole new games, which I think is a better way to describe that. As Russ said, the game has so many small micro phases that, now it's time for, I'm going to be using martial arts, which is this subset of rules, or I'm going to be using camouflage, which is this set of rules, or TO camouflage, which is a different set of rules. And it just really, that connected to the rock, paper, scissors element of, he's going to have TO camouflage. I have to have a guy with, this multi-spectrum visor, or I can't. Right. You got a guy with multi-spectrum visor? Oh, half the stuff in my army now doesn't work. It's there was, and I know, because I've received the brunt of it from our big fans of Infinity. I know that fans of Infinity tell me that it's not rock, paper, scissors, that I'm not understanding it at all. And that's just my perception. And that's totally possible. But the fact of the matter is that it got far too complicated for me. And I found that it was rock, paper, scissors. And maybe that's because I chose a very low tech faction, and so didn't have any of these cool, fun things that everybody was like, no, but wait till you do this. I'm like, I went through my rule book last night. I don't have any of that.
Yeah.
So, I just like Russ said, I love hard sci-fi. I love the models. I have so much terrain now that would be used for Infinity. I'm really hoping that this 3rd edition cleans it up and streamlines. I don't want it to be dumbed down for the, that's always the fear, right? Whenever a new version comes out, I don't want it dumbed down, but I do want it simplified.
Yep.
And if they can manage to do that, then I'm all in all over again, to the point where I probably won't even use the faction I already own. I'll probably buy a whole new faction.
Probably.
Just because they look so cool, and I want to paint up more models.
With new plastics in the starter box or something. They'd be like, oh my God, these are...
No, it's all metal.
Was it all metal? So
they're embracing the fact that they're not a big company, and they're not going to even try to do plastic.
Okay,
they're going to do the metal. So the starter box is a high price considering the model count in it, but it is metal. It's all new metal. It's not they're not reusing old stands. I mean, old poses. And they're models that exist in current Infinity, but they are new sculpts.
Nice. Awesome.
And it comes with terrain too, cardboard terrain, but it looks beautiful. And the way they've done it, it's really cool. Each individual building section, the cool boxes that all Infinity models come in fit inside the terrain.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
So it gives it some some firmness and models can stand on it and it won't bounce around. So it looks like this new starter box. It does look very, very cool. And I've almost reconciled myself to it as a no-brainer purchase on day one.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Craig.
And that was December. That was the end of 2012,
that's a good
ladies
place
and
to
gentlemen.
stop. So there we go. We did 16 episodes. There.
That was a lot.
That is a lot. We've got some good coverage here. So hopefully you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane, the end of 2012.
Yeah.
Closing in here on catching up to where we are next time we do one of these.
Yeah. Only a year and a half to go.
So, Craig, so we'll check out a Dunkin' Donuts here, and next time I see you, it'll be in Indianapolis, actually.
Indeed it will.
We're recording this right before we head to Gen Con, so we're very excited. So hopefully we'll see some of you there, too.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for purchasing a D6G Lost Chapter. Supporting the show helps it grow.